Thing is all out of audio. USB.
Are
That
you
should be
good?
sound. Yes, I'm good. I'm good, mate.
Okay. Welcome back to the Street Shaman Podcast. I am your host, Shamanic Poe, aka Poe and the Rockstar, and today I'm here with psychoanalyst and expert of CPTSD, Richard Grannon. How you feeling, my guy?
I'm really good. When you said all, I thought you were going to say is psycho. Then I'm here with this psycho.
I'm here with this fucking psycho here. Nah.
This psycho. He is a psycho, but he will analyze you to the best of his abilities. Thanks very much for having me on, Poe. It's always a pleasure chatting to you.
No doubt. So I wanted to get you on here so we could talk about the spoken word that you did. I think I'm hearing feedback from your mic.
Oh shit! Let me
Yeah.
turn myself down right here.
I can't hear you at all now.
That's not a good result. Let me turn the volume down here. That's not the result we're looking for. I've actually set up a new mic today, so it's a proper mic, trying to improve just the sound quality, but the problems that come with it, my goodness me, it's tricky. Is that better on
Right,
the
it's
feedback?
stressful. Yeah, it's good, and I don't hear myself. Yeah, the problems are stressful. Now you're talking about mics, because I have a whole mic setup. I can set everything up, but it's a lot more stressful dealing with like 4 different things, making sure volumes are right and things aren't bouncing back at you when you hear them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to ask you how you've been. I know you've been dropping some recent videos on your Richard Grannon Philosophy channel talking about a breakdown. Um, what's this breakdown? What happened? Because I feel like you're saying things vaguely, and I know it's early for a breakdown, and I know me, if it was breakdown time for me, it'll take me some months to be able to articulate that shit properly, or at least half as proper as you were doing. What's going on? What happened?
Well, a few things happened. There was like a series of unfortunate events. And I actually I took a beating as one of these unfortunate events as well.
You took a beating? What do you mean?
Yeah.
You got in a fight and somebody jumped you?
Yeah. I actually, my head was swollen like a watermelon for about a week, and I had really bad bruising across my forehead and under my eyes, but nobody saw it. I managed to keep it off social media. I was just posting old videos that I had from before.
You got away with that shit. You got away with that shit. Yeah, I mean, at least you're not a type of motherfucker that gets on there and be like, somebody just beat me up. Look at this lump that I have. Take pity on me or whatever. Like, at least, like, that's what I would do. You do shit that I would do. Like, that's why I fucks with you. Because you do shit like, yeah, I'm not showing the world all of that. Like, you get a glimpse, and you might get a glimpse or a horror story 5 years after it already happened, where I got time to process it somewhat and be able to articulate it somewhat. Is that what you're doing here with this breakdown? And what was the breakdown? Was it the relationship or somewhat of a relationship that you were in? What was going on?
There's been, like, I didn't talk about it publicly, but my history here in Ibiza has already been dark, but not because of like drugs and the party scene here so much as like the first time. I won't go too deeply into it, but the first time I was here in 2019, I ended up with being followed, and I had guys in my house looking to batter me. I actually had guys in my house.
For what? Were you flirting with a girl? Were you where they just see you as a mark? They're like, look at this white guy, he must have some money. Look at the nice haircuts. He's getting haircuts all the fucking time. We gotta What was it?
It was the type of extreme flirtation that ends in penetration. But it was it was a girl who I didn't know was married, and she was, and the husband was not. He was connected, and of course he was. He couldn't just be a regular guy because it's me. Because it's fucking me. It has to turn into this weird like I was being followed. And you have these like paranoid people like, oh, I'm being followed. No, I was actually being followed. And through this, it's an extremely long-winded story, but the information was being fed back it was a Romanian group, but it was being fed back to like I don't know, the uncle, let's say, in the village back home, but somebody else who I knew was feeding that information back to me. And they're like, no, they've been filming you. They've got your car registration. We've got videos here of you going into your house. They know what times you go. They know where you go to the gym. It was serious. It was really, really serious.
Damn, they weren't fucking around. They were not fucking around.
No. I mean, there's one like, I would be rather angry too if somebody had been stuffing my wife. So
that's one of those things. Like I dealt with that, like my last relationship that I was in, not the one I'm in now, but the one prior to this one. I was dealing with something where the guy that fucked the girl that I was with was like 4 apartments down.
Yes.
4 apartments down, where I could have, and I saw him a few times and he jittered and ran into and I'm like, this guy's a fucking sweetheart. I would never, like, I told my ex, like, he's a fucking sweetheart. I would never fight him because he doesn't really know me. He just saw me in the hallway with you.
Yes.
Yeah. I would never do that. But yeah, the intention was there. Sometimes I would come home mad, working fucking 13, 14 hours. And I come home like, maybe if I see him today, I'm going to hit him with some shit. Like, just,
That was yesterday's potent. This is today's potent. You're going to have to deal with something else, I'm afraid. Yeah. No, I mean, right. It's not a good thing. And it stirs up a lot of really dark emotions. And I think it's different in men than in women. I think men are concerned with access to sex. So if your partner has offered what you find precious, which is the sexual availability to another man, that's a major problem. When it's with women, it's if you offer emotion. So if like emotional resources, it tends to be it's always a problem either way, but it stirs up the darkest emotions that way, I've found. And I mean, it's like, it's primal. And then we're coming from our primal mindset. And I was like, okay, I need to speak to this guy. I need to get access to this guy. I need to speak to him. It sort of got resolved. We know we have mutual friends through the gym and training and stuff. And, it's pretty much resolved. But the point I was making was the history here is already sort of preloaded. And it shouldn't happen to me because people see me and they go, what do you do? And I'll be like, well, I work online as a life coach. I specialize in childhood trauma and I'm here to write a book. And they go, yeah, good one. And what do you really do? And I'm like, no, that's all I'm doing here. That's it. They think it's like a cover or something. And
right. So you're covering up. They look at you like you were probably in there selling some drugs shit too. Like you was a kingpin of some sort.
Well, where I'm from in the northwest of the UK and I'm driving around in a UK plated BMW here, it just says, like, if you're from Liverpool and you're in Ibiza, you're a drug dealer. There's no way you're not a cocaine dealer. There's just no way. It doesn't happen. I really am not. I actually got nicked by the police this week for looking like a drug dealer. They're like, do you have drugs in the car? No. Do you have controlled substances in the car? No. Do you have anything in the car? I was like, just go in my car. Just fucking look. You might find some empty water bottles in the back, but that's it.
So you're saying like your look, and I can kind of see it, like your look, because from where you came from, it's not like you changed your look that many times. Your look is prominently from your neighborhood, like the hood part of your neighborhood, as far as like a person that would be doing something in the streets. Right?
Yes, I would look. I'm of the age, like I'm not a kid. So I know what I would think. I of course I know exactly. It's not like, oh, boohoo prejudice. I know what I would fucking think if I saw like a guy my age doing that, driving around, going to that gym, going to those places. I know what I would think as well. The thing is, like, I live a clean life, basically. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not into that. Like I don't. The guys I knew from they're either dead or they went to prison or we just mainly in the main we broke contact. Not involved, but I still have that karma. I still have that the picker of situations where if it's going to go off, it'll be me. If somebody's going to get arrested, it'll be me. Like this week, I was literally pulled over, stuck up against the wall, and they were scraping my tongue. and scraping my car looking for drugs. The particular individual that I got involved with a couple of years ago, it's Ibiza. There's loads of women here, but I picked the one who's got the fucking husband, and she didn't tell me about it. So that this then played into the scenario I'm in now, where I'm like, oh, fuck my luck. It's the same. I can live a clean life, but darkness shows up at my door. Like, things got dark here, and they got dark quickly, faster than I could acclimatize to. It's like being in a plane, and we did an altitude shift, and I just couldn't hack it. Like, I was running out of oxygen, and bits of me started falling off, and I went back into like childhood trauma. And because I was basically, metaphorically, I was pinned in a situation that I couldn't escape, because there was a person, I don't want to get too deep into it, there's a person involved who really needed my help. What I should have done if I was a selfish fuck is gone, I'm out of here, see you later. But I couldn't abandon that one person. But because that meant I was pinned, it was like the situations I've been through in childhood, where the sort of the predatory sexual thing, it wasn't, to be a little bit graphic, it was never anybody just grabbing me, pinning me down and raping me. It was always, there was 3 occasions, 3 situations, coercion through consent. Like, will you take the chocolate? Will you metaphorically, do you want this for that? Which is fucked up, because it always leaves the child in that scenario feeling like, well, I did it. I made that choice. It's more my fault. So all of that stuff that was not resolved came back up. And yeah, for about 5 weeks, I was in a fucking tailspin. I was in really, really bad, just in a really dark place. Right. And I had the choice. I had a clear as day choice, which was, you have another way out of this. Just be as dark as this situation is. And I was fucking this close to just saying, this is me. I should stop pretending. This has always been me. This is my life. This is where I belong. There is another option of response here, but it's not the fucking Spartan life coach is over. Life coaching people, CPTSD is over, because you're now that other thing.
Right.
I hope I'm not talking too vague. I'm sure people understand.
No, yeah, I know. I definitely understand. Yeah. I hope people in the chat do understand, the people that are going to watch it afterwards. Because, like, there is, especially for people like us that have dabbled with the streets, have dabbled with the street life, done, malicious things in our past lives that we probably regret now. The reason why we probably got in that situation and to do those malicious things is because we had a narcissistic perspective on life, where it's like, fuck that. It's me. It's no one else. It's me. I'm going to take over. I'm going to do whatever I need to do for me. Fuck everybody else. Yeah. And you can be triggered into those situations if you're getting like bombarded with a lot of terrible situations where you're getting traumatized. You get triggered. You can get triggered. Yeah. For people like you and I would say that it takes a little bit more than the average bear, but it's there. The aggression is there. And another thing with that aggression is, like, I've lived both lives where I've been super aggressive and super passive. And when you're super passive, you don't get to release some of those extra, like, angst that you might have in your body. Sometimes you just need to scream. That's why they show, like, a lot of in movies and therapy, like, scream, yeah, like just scream, get it out, because there's a bunch of aggression that you're just holding in and using to, like, abuse yourself, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like there's a tremendous amount of cultural pressure. It's not necessarily modern cultural pressure either, because obviously there is the modern cultural issue around masculinity. Yes, okay. I'm not talking about that for 1 second. Shelving that. We haven't known what to do with men since 4,000 years ago, when we stopped killing animals in the woods for meat and we started farming. It's like, well, what? Men aren't evolved. Men have evolved for smashing each other's brains out with rocks, or smashing animals' heads out with rocks. Now they're just going to be farmers. They're just going to obey the law and do what God says, or do what the local priest says. And the animal that we are is not really adapted for this. And scenarios like this, when you look at them, you just think, actually this being good is hard. It would be easier to do that. If I just start drinking again, start snorting again, take some steroids, 3 months, I'll be a different human and I'll be comfortable. I'll be relaxed. It's easier for me in a certain, it's a horrible life. It's nasty. It's bad karma. But in a way, it's like it's not a big effort. It's a sort of a going, okay, one could relax into it. And I don't think that's just me. I think that's everybody. I look at all people involved in that game and think that they're cowards. I think that they're all cowards because there was a film, it might have been The Bronx Story. I can't remember where Robert De Niro delivers a speech and he says the real hero, because his son worships gangsters. He says the real hero is the working man. It's easy to do what they're doing. That's not hard. It's like, these little moments of courage that you hear about, like a fight or something. Everybody's drunk when high when they do. That's not hard to do that shit. It only looks frightening and hard from the outside. But when you're drunk, when you're drunk and you're high, you don't give a fuck.
You don't give a fuck. You're just ready to fight. You're ready to fight.
If you're doing that when you're sober as a boxer or an MMA fighter, respect. But, most of us don't. We get smashed first. Then we get to it.
Absolutely. So what's the progress on your YouTube? Like, what are you trying to do right now with your YouTube? I see you doing the philosophy channel. But you're still putting stuff out on the regular Richard Grannon channel, right? Yeah. So what's the idea? What's the aim? Like, what's the aim?
Well, this is where this has been a good experience as far as the YouTube channel goes, and like what the whole project is. I'd avoided sort of looking at it for a long time, and today I've been in the guts of the website, the guts of the YouTube channel, and been looking at it, going, okay, what am I doing with this? What exactly is this going to be about? Because I feel like I'm not going to say a second chance. I must be on my fucking 7th or 8th chance right now. But I got another chance. I got a reprieve from being an arsehole. And I'm like, okay, I got a little chance here. Let's do some fucking good with it. So the short answer is I don't know, but I'm going to do something. I'm going to make a big effort to broaden the audience and to really take myself more seriously, to stop being a fucking kid about this and go, look, like you take yourself seriously. You've got a good message. You've got something good to say, get to it instead of being half-hearted about it.
Right. And that kind of like confused me a little bit because you have done plenty of seminars. You have, stood on stages to talk the good talk. And I never see you as a kid, but obviously I know it has to be a kid side of you to even have the confidence and the idea of being able to do these certain things. Because like if you feel like I'm already an adult, where's the creativity going to come from?
Right.
It's like, go ahead.
Well, it's one of the big issues at the moment for me is I'm trying to reorganize like my own sense of myself as a man. My father wasn't interested in showing me; just wasn't around. The people that I looked up to, unfortunately, were criminals because it was an overcompensatory gesture to find a masculine source, and so I'm still in the struggle of dealing with that and of coming out of, in certain areas of my life, I am quite childlike, and especially when there's intimacy involved, I regress to I start processing things like a kid, like I'm 15 or 16 years old. And then I make really bad decisions that have really bad karmic consequences at the end of them. And so the guy that you see, if he was present when all of this stuff was happening, well, this stuff wouldn't be happening because I wouldn't be physically present. When I took a beating, I was at a beach party at 4 a.m. in a legal place where I shouldn't have been, not sober, not in my right mind, no business being there. Like if I, it's like the old self-protection stuff I used to teach. I was like, don't show up at the place where people get fucking beaten up by a little gang of Italians, which is happened to me. Because said something dumb and I thought, oh, I'm going to say something really funny right now. They didn't think it was funny.
So why is it, do you think, that you resort back to like the childlike mentality when you're in certain environments, and then when you're like doing work, that you're so much more of an adult, so much more authoritarian when it comes to like actually doing work, but when you're playing, you're like a kid in the candy store? Because I have the same shit that goes on. Like when I'm serious, stop playing with me. And then when I'm like playing, I'm like, oh, it's all fucking fun and games and shit. Like what is that about us?
I think I think a lot of people with CPTSD have this. Like, we tend to stay creative. We our brains stay younger for longer. Even like some of us even end up looking younger for longer because we actually aren't growing up. And it's that's the good side. People are like, "How old are you? How old did you say you were?"
All
Really?
the time, all the time. Yeah.
But that's because the child is active. I think there's areas of life like creativity, like your music and me with my writing, where it's perfectly safe to be childlike. There's other areas of life where probably you don't want that child there.
Right.
But I mean, in my particular case, there's stuff from childhood that just what hasn't been resolved properly. It's just not resolved, and it's I'm still I didn't know I was hurting. I didn't know I was in pain. I had no idea until this crisis happened, and I went back into therapy, and I was like, "Fuck, I'm in a lot of pain." And in those places, in certain parts of me, I'm very, very armored as a compensation for the fragility of the vulnerability of that part of me that's so weak
Right.
and can't
Right.
protect itself. And
Right.
then I'm armored in compensation to that. So you're stuck in almost like a rigid narcissistic defense, but it's
Right.
necessary if you don't have an option. That's where you have to bring the adult into that space and go, okay, I'm not 5 anymore. We don't need to respond in this way anymore. We have options.
Right.
Sounds
So
easy, but it's hard.
absolutely. So a question for you. Is that the reason why you would be more guarded than most when it comes to relationships and intimacy? Is because you know yourself and you know that you might fall into these traps where you're acting a little bit immature, or is that why?
I think, like, for somebody like me, based on the experiences I've had, it would take quite a lot of work for me to have a chance at feeling safe in an environment where I was sexually intimate with a female partner. It would be really quite taxing. I didn't know that. I thought it was okay. I thought I had some problems, but the structures that you need to do that, I don't have them. I don't have those. There are places where you need boundaries that I don't have. I don't know intimate love. I can have friendships with women. It's not a problem. I can have like friends with men, and it's
Right.
never a problem. But with an intimate sexual partner, somewhere along the way, I've confused fusing and merging with the person with intimacy and relating to them. And I choose partners who permit that or encourage that, even who say, yes, become one with me, fuse with me. It's really sick, and it's really, really dangerous. And it makes me very, very sick. I didn't know. I had no idea that I was like that.
Yeah. I mean, like the relationship that I'm at now, um, like my girl, I love her to death. She's a total codependent, right? And I tell her all the time, like, get out of here. Like she gives me constant compliments, and I'm, leave me alone. Stop telling me that. Why are you telling me that so much? Just because I know that like it's a tricky, situation. If there's a line that you go over, that you could cross, and it could turn into something totally different.
Yeah.
I know myself, as far as like a person, like anybody, if you're given all the leverage in the world, if you're getting spoiled, it's easy to succumb to that spoiled nature and just be a different person and change who you are completely. So it's a constant battle of like, yes, I know you love me, baby, but stop doing that shit. What the fuck you do? But I do it like that. I do it with, with comedy,
Good
with
humor.
love, like,
Yeah.
without trying to like yo, shut the fuck up, like being really upset, because I know that it can get tricky in those situations. And a lot of people nowadays, as far as I see, they're either trying to abuse that type of person that really loves them, that really cares, really supports them, or or walk all over them, or just cheat on them, not treat them with respect. And I think for me, like, I used to be that person 9 out of 10 out of times, you know what I mean? Like, I was that person. And it came from like watching certain movies that I love. Like, for me, I love horror, I love fucking sci-fi shit, but my main twist that I could fuck with 100 times over is rom-coms. Believe it or not, just a funny ass comedy with a little bit of romance. And look, they made it at the end. They're together.
Yeah.
And that had something to do with my psyche. It probably had something to do with the love that I was lacking and the way I interpret it. And then it also had something to do with the way I interpreted the rest of my life, because I continued to condition myself in this manner, And I know from my brother's perspective that he was just watching fucking mafia movies and mobster shit and gangster shit and sell these drugs and I gotta kill this guy. So that's where his mind went. What do you have to say about like that type of conditioning from media?
Well, it's I mean, it's a lot like what you're talking about with your girlfriend is the hyper agreeableness, and it's a very, very strong fawn response where she's probably been conditioned to think she has to overgive or you will leave her. Like, you're going to abandon her if she's not doing that. So what she's doing is there to moderate her anxiety, which I understand. I've had it done to me. I've done it to people. I would say what you asked about cultural conditioning, in my moderate defense, one of the reasons why I've conflated romantic love with fusing and merging is because that's what we're told it is. You become one. You're not two people, two separate sovereign entities who are, living together and supporting each other and being the individuals you are, because that's complicated and it takes skill and it takes like psychological literacy to do that. You just fuse and you enter into each other. If you want the fastest way possible to meet each other's shadow, it is through the modern conception of love. You actually are actively engaged in shadow activation without knowing it. You're almost forcing the other person to show their truly dark side through the process of love. And the more intimate you become, the more of that you will see. It's a really tricky area of life because we need it. Like, what's the point in living if you don't have love, if you don't have intimacy?
Right.
And you can't have love and intimacy.
Which is a line you said in the new song Ready. You said, what's the point of life if there's no love? Yeah, you said that. You said it.
I'm just putting the lyrics in here now.
You said it really dope, and you rhymed at the same time. I loved it. So actually, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, this is an area of life. The problems we think we have globally are not the problems that we really have. They are symptoms of a broader problem, and the broader problem is love. The broader problem is intimacy.
Absolutely. Talking about that, like with the problems that we're having in this world right now. Here's a word that is not going to get monetized, although I don't monetize my shit as we stand today, because that probably would get us banned quicker than anything. But the media is pushing really hard for the jab. 70 to 80,000, because I've heard two cases. I heard 70 to 80,000 people that are healthcare workers are getting fired soon from New York State because they're not willing to take this jab.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the disgusting part of it is, like, I watch different hip hop radio stations on YouTube and podcasts and shit. Excuse me, beer burp. Excuse me, beer burp. Sorry, Richard. But
shout out to the people with the headphones on.
Right, they heard that.
Rest in
They heard that
peace.
shit. It was nice and girthy. It had some to it.
That came
Anyway,
from below. Okay, that was the love
right,
below.
comes right. Anyway, so right now, even the hip hop blogs and the podcasts and stuff, and I know, and everybody should know that they're fully connected with whatever's above. They're pushing, hey, 70, 80,000 people haven't been vaccinated. Like, you guys should know better. You should be getting vaccinated because you know better. But they are healthcare workers. They're missing the argument of like, wait a minute, why is it that 80,000 people are not choosing to do this, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Like, I obviously you probably have a good explanation for this, but what do you think about the fact that even the hip hop blogs, hip hop podcasts and everything are trying to nudge people into that direction and trying to come up with this fallacious argument?
Yeah, it's interesting. Very, very interesting. Very telling. I think it just shows you you lift the mask a little bit and you can see the true nature of modern hip hop right there. I mean, they will just do what they're told. They are corporate bitches, and the dong is deep within them, and they want it there. That's where they want Satan's dong, because that's how they get paid. So they'll do whatever they're puppets. They'll do whatever they're told. It's a real shame because it's one of our last bastions of a sort of punk rebellion, one would hope. But, I suppose we should distinguish the hip hop establishment has always been a little bit, a bit two-faced and corporate versus the artists themselves. So the establishment has always been, I mean, going back throughout the whole history of it, you can cite numerous cases where you're like, well, actually the media, the hip hop industry, the media around it, the radio stations, they've always been exploitative. They've always, maybe not all, but mostly. That's different to the artists themselves. Some artists would be down for this. Some obviously and vocally are not. And it's interesting that New York State is not doing a good thing at the moment. It shouldn't be famous for hiring healthcare workers who are refusing to have an experimental vaccine put into their bodies. That's not a good thing to be famous for. New York State is not going to come out of this pandemic looking very good at all.
Right. Yeah, most of the New York, like as far as the city is concerned, they're losing all their businesses. The businesses that are staying, they're still asking for people to be vaccinated to come into their restaurant or their bar, which means they're getting less people into their restaurant and bar. And even they're losing their bartenders and their servers because they don't want to get vaccinated yet.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to see. Like, we've had Drake come out with an album. We had Kanye West come out with an album. J. Cole come out with an album. I mean, I wouldn't expect it from Drake, but I would expect something from Ye or J. Cole at least. They have said nothing. It's like nothing happened. They're just rapping. I'm better than you. This was what happened in my life. Like, if what we just dealt with the past year and a half had never existed. Like, it just doesn't exist. Like, it doesn't happen. Like, it didn't happen. What the fuck are we doing? I'm not listening to nobody that's just gonna like turn a blind eye and act like we're gonna put out we're gonna put out 30 songs each, and none of them have to do with anything that's going on with the world, and we're just gonna accept them as such. Absolutely.
There's no way that Public Enemy or De La Soul or anybody from back in that time would have responded in that way. Because they had heart and they had a spine and they had brains and they had balls. You need offal to get by in life, and they had all of that, and there's no fucking way they would have done that. We're all a little bit pussified, compared to 20 years ago, 30 years ago. We're all a little bit browbeaten and toxically passive. There's that factor. The pressures are just huge. They're huge right now, but definitely I wouldn't want somebody who is independently wealthy rapping like it's still 2019 and nothing has happened. I mean, that's just cowardice. That is pure cowardice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the one person that actually said something was Nicki Minaj. And then now everybody is ganging up on Nicki Minaj. She said one of her cousins or some shit in Trinidad was took the vaccine and one of his balls got too big or some shit. And it was like, she was like, I'm not taking it. I need more research. The White House was like, hey, come over here. We'll talk to you. She said, okay, I'm down to do it. Can I go live on some type of platform so we can record this? They said, no.
No, you can't go live whilst we torture you and inject you with our mind control drugs, Nikki. We can't go live. You can't be broadcasting that. We want to pressure you. We want to show you some torture movies and tell you what's going to happen to your family unless you shut the fuck up.
Right. And on top of which, the people that are actually vaccinated, like with Harvard Business, they actually stopped doing classes at the college. They're doing the classes online again because there was an outbreak in Harvard Business. Like 300 people got COVID, but it was 95 to 100% of them were already vaccinated.
Yeah, good.
So,
well, as long as it works, Poe, it's worth the risk, my mate.
So it's like all this bullshit, and you guys can't get it together. You're gonna stop. You're gonna fire 80,000, 70,000 people in New York State that are healthcare
For not
workers.
doing the risky thing that doesn't fucking work. Yeah.
Right. But last year, they were heroes.
Right.
They were the ones that on the front line. They're essential workers. They're our heroes. There was a lot of commercials on that. Now this year is like, take the fucking jab, and if you don't, you're fired.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm suspicious of it. I don't like being told do this or else. How about fuck you? No. Ask me nicely. Give me a reason, maybe.
It's fucked up, man. This world is fucked up. It's too fucked up. Like, what we're dealing with now is just, we can see the cracks in the foundation.
Yeah.
We can see the cracks in the foundation. And the only ones that don't see it is because they're doing this. They're like, oh, I'm not looking that way. I see cracks over there, but I'm not going to look. Unless you're completely indoctrinated and completely just in your loop of life where you're like, I go to CNN, I go to this TV station to get my news, and that's it. And whatever they tell me, that's good. And I get it for a lot of people that don't have the time to sit and think. They've just been working.
They have had 18 months, though. You're being very kind.
You're right, but
you're a kind man. You're a kind man. You're kinder than me. Right. I'm like, you but fucking idiots. You've had 18 months. You don't have a doubt. Not one fucking doubt. Not one.
For some people that I've seen, they look like they die hard believe the propaganda that's pushed. Some of them, I see them saying this stuff about all that's going on, and they have a little smirk on their face. They're like, yeah, I can't believe people are not taking it. This is like the argument was, I don't see why 80,000 people, like if you're a healthcare worker, you should be taking it because you're putting people's life at risk for taking it. And it's like, but what about the fact that they are healthcare workers and they might know a thing more than you do?
Yeah. Why not have some respect for a little bit of medical knowledge? These are people who have applied vaccines where the people you're talking to haven't. No, I think I've been in contact with different nurses and healthcare workers since the beginning. They tend to send me emails, particularly. There's a few American nurses who've been updating me regularly, and they've told me the cynicism amongst nurses, the the hesitancy. They told me this like a year ago. They said it's enormously high just because it was so quickly put together and because it's not been thoroughly tested yet. You have to wait. You can't just go, well, 60 million people have taken this and they're not dead yet. You're supposed to wait. That's what happens with most vaccines. You wait, and then over a long enough time, you're actually still gathering data as time goes by with the same sample group. Just because they didn't die today of anything or grow a third leg or something doesn't mean that something adverse could happen further down the road. It seems a bit, if it was highly contagious and the mortality rate was like 5%, 6%, of people, and they put this much pressure, you'd be like, well, they kind of have to, because otherwise a ton of us are going to be dead. But the risk just doesn't merit this kind of pressure. The vaccine just came out. You can't just say to 80,000 healthcare workers that you need for all the sick people, because you're in the middle of a fucking pandemic, apparently, allegedly, do as we say or else with this experimental vaccine. You can say you're getting PCR tested every 3 days. You're on special masks. You have special gloves. You have special rules. Why? Because you're a fucking healthcare. You can, but not being jabbed with an experimental vaccine. That's not a proportionate response to the threat we face. But what is? I mean, where are we seeing a proportionate response to the threat? We barely do.
Right. All right, let's shift gears here a little bit, because we got about 14 minutes left here on this pod, because we're about to do the premiere of the new song, Richard Grannon and Potent the Rockstar, Ready. How was it for you? Because have you ever written poetry before? You just did that shit like a natural. I don't want to fucking hear that you never did this shit in your life and you're a fucking natural at poetry and spoken word. I don't want to hear it. So what happened?
I've done upsettingly small amounts of it, but when I was a kid, I was like pulled into doing things a couple of times because I have an ability to write. I'm very, very lucky like that. I never really did anything with it. I might have written some poetry in the emo days when I was listening to Nine Inch Nails a lot. There's the cadence of spoken word. I used to listen to a lot of Four Hero. It's a drum and bass group. Okay. I think they're Brits. I'm not sure, but they do a lot of spoken word. So I know what the cadence should sound like on that kind of a track. And so that was my first draft. I was like, here we go. I'll just give him this, and then he'll give me feedback, and we'll whittle this down. And by draft 5, we'll have something. And you were like, nope, this is the one.
This is good. I heard it was like, yep, that's perfect. I woke up, sat on the shitter, was sitting there, had to take a shit in the piss, and I'm like, all right, guess I'll listen to this real quick. Yeah. Put it on, was like, this motherfucker killed it. He killed it. And then you gave me like this extra long verse, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna use the whole thing. Like, normally people that do that shit to me, I would be like, nah, dog, redo it. You went too fucking long. What are you doing? But your shit, I was like, nah, we got to keep all of this in there. Like, so I finessed it where I put one as a second verse and then one like as a third verse. So literally you have 2 verses on the song, but it's supposed to be like an intro song as well. So I'm like, yeah, this works perfectly fine.
I'm really glad that you liked it, and I'm really glad. I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. It sounds good. I think I was always a bit worried that it would sound a bit goofy or a bit false. Our accents are different. It's not something that I would normally do, and it sounds good. It sounds natural.
Oh yeah, it sounds really natural, man. I appreciate that shit. You don't understand. Like I heard that shit. I'm like, all right, gotta put it on real quick. Put it on the fucking studio speakers I have in here. I'm like, all right, put that shit up. Listen to it a few times. Like when you send it to me, I'm like, yeah, this is fucking good. At least if it's good for me, I know there's gonna be some people that it's gonna be good for. Yeah. But honestly, with this project, I'm gonna give people gonna like the shit, but I'm not really giving people what they want to hear as it pertains to today's music and whatever. Like, I'm just doing the best way that I could have moved forward with my music was just do what I felt was right.
Yes.
Just do what I felt was right, musically and lyrically. Just do what I felt was right, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's just like, go ahead.
Just gonna say that's what the world needs now. We've got a lot of homogenized stuff that we all love. I mean, we're all sugar addicted. We all like it, but there's very little coming out that's different or that's authentic or that's from the heart because it's hard to do that because somebody's going to get a hold of it and auto tune it and do something weird with it. So I've been talking to other people who are creatives in the same area as you recently. And that's been my coaching advice is like, just tell the truth. Just tell the truth as you say it. You're telling the truth with the music you choose, the sound you choose, the energy you project, the state you're in when you do the lyrics that you're doing. It's all projected. It all goes into human consciousness, and it will be heard by the right people. The right people who need to hear it are going to hear it.
Right. And I think a lot of people are scared to do that because they're so worried about getting on a certain playlist. Playlist means they might get some more fans, get more listens and shit. But I'm not really concerned with that right now. Like, I know what it takes. I know what it takes to get my song, my video on 200,000 views. I did it for Sick in the Head. Advertisement dollars. That's all it really takes. You can put advertisement dollars in there until you fucking like broke and the numbers will skyrocket. But it doesn't really compute to like actual listeners, actual supporters and fans.
Yeah.
So I'm not playing that game with them no more. You know what I mean? It's like whoever's going to listen to it is going to listen to it. I'm making the music right now because I enjoy making music. And this is what makes me enjoy making music, not having to deal with all of that extra bullshit.
Yeah.
Like when I had Picky Mickey on here, he was explaining and he was upset about the fact, like with playlists and like, oh, everybody's paying for shit. Yeah, that's all this business is.
Yeah.
Paying for shit. You want to get on that tour? You can get on that tour. Hit up the right person and send them the right amount of money. And they'll get you right on that tour. And this whole industry is based on that. Just payola. Everywhere you look.
Cash in, cash out. Yep. And the thing is that in that kind of a game, talent inevitably suffers. Because talent doesn't always have cash. And talent doesn't always want to do what you want them to do that you know is going to sell the tickets at the concerts and everything. We all don't all want to be in the circus necessarily.
Right. Like I love to perform. I love to get on stage and perform for people. But nowadays, the way they're running things, it doesn't have the same oomph.
Yeah.
You have to get on stages now, all industries, whether it's fucking mainstream or even underground. There's pay to play. You get on the stage and the audience is too busy on their phone or trying to record you with their phone to enjoy it. And it's sickening and annoying. I'm definitely going to go back on fucking tour and do some shit eventually, but it's not like it was. Let's just say it that way. It's not like it was.
I think I'm optimistic with that. I think that if independent artists like yourself and Mickey and Pierre and other guys I'm in contact with, if you set your intent that you want it to be like the way it was, you can, but your will has to be stronger than that which opposes you. So your will has to be really fucking strong and your intention has to be absolutely fucking solid. You could bring it back, but it would require a strong magic.
Right. Yeah, and another point for that. The social media networks like Instagram, Facebook, they are not trying to help any artist promote their actual product. If you take a picture of yourself, you're going to get 2,000 likes or 2,000 views at least. Take a picture of the flyer for the Street Shaman podcast today, 300, 200 views, and they slow ball it. What I've learned from going to a different social media site that nobody knows called Vero, went on the site, I posted the flyer for today, and they actually suggest hashtags to you according to the post that you made. Put up the flyer for today. One of the hashtags were advertisement. Right off the bat, advertising. I was like, oh, so if they're showing me, what does Instagram know or Facebook know that they're not showing you? They know once you post it that it's an advertisement, and they automatically bump you down, and they let fewer people see it. And when it's a meme, it's like out of this world. Like, we'll show it to everybody. These are the games they're playing to make sure that, like, for artists and anybody coming up, it's not a thing of like yesteryear where people just blow up overnight on YouTube, blow up overnight on these websites. It's more, you pay us for the advertisement, and then we'll let you know if we want to show it. Because if it's an advertisement that, for instance, like a lot of underground artists, they can't really advertise because they're doing like horrorcore, which is like, I'm kind of like Jason and I'll fucking kill you, but I rap. You know what I mean? Like, which is entertaining if you like horror. But because it comes off that way, it's like, nah, we're not promoting this. Or we're going to promote it, but it costs you more than it cost this guy over here that's being a snowflake.
Yes. Yeah. There was a horrorcore guy I used to follow. I can't remember his name. He was a guy from New York, and some of the stuff he would rap about was just insane. Chainsawing people and mashing them up. But it was, I wouldn't even say it was like lyrically great. I just went back to it and listened to it again and again.
It's fun.
It was fun. It put a hook in me. It put a hook in me for sure. But yeah, no, you're right. And it's strange that that game ends up feeding right into their advertising protocol and their advertising model. How strange it is that if you actually what that means. So this is what's happening, and then this is happening. The other factor is here, and what that means is, if you give us your money, then we'll help you out.
We'll help you out. We'll share it to everybody that already follows you. That can't see your post that we tucked behind the fucking curtain. Anyway, we got like 2-3 minutes before the premiere of Ready. Let everybody know where they can find you, how they can contact you, and what you're doing.
Please follow me on Instagram. It's the place where I'm posting the most content at the moment. I am at Richard.Grannon on the evil Instagram.
Evil. Well, thank you. Thank everybody that came through in the chat, everybody that's coming through with the comments later, the people that are donating, supporters, fans that are sharing it, everybody. Thank you for your time and attention. This is the Street Shaman Podcast. I am Shamanic Poe, aka Poe and the Rockstar. This is Richard Grannon, and we're out of here, motherfucker. Yo, check the premiere.